across America, people might not think of Springfield as a big casino destination because they're like, Springfield where? Springfield, Massachusetts. With me now is the head of Global MGM Resorts, Jim Murren. Great to see you today.
Thank you for having me.
Why Springfield?
Well, first off, let's set the record straight. This was the first Springfield.
Okay.
So there are a lot of Springfields, but in the city of first, Springfield, Mass. Look, this is a very affluent area. We're in western Massachusetts. It'll capture a regional market of New York, northwestern Connecticut, Massachusetts. It's a city that was down on its luck for many years. We've developed something here, a real urban renewal project, and we put 3,000 men and women to work. And I think we're going to get a good return. But I'm really gratified by the fact that we're here helping the city pull itself up.
This is a small city, fewer than 200,000 residents. Sort of at this intersection of Connecticut and western Massachusetts. Albany's only about an hour away. And as you say, down on its luck. But you also got one of the first casino licenses. You're the first full-scale casino resort to open up in Massachusetts. And yet there's still a lot of opposition here. In 2014, more than 40% of Massachusetts voters said they didn't want legalized casinos. How do you turn the critics into believers?
Well, here in Springfield, those critics are believers now because the amount of enthusiasm all around here, people are literally crying with joy that they have these jobs, that they can move back to the city, that in many cases they grew up in the region. And I would say that public opinion here is great. It was very poor early on, and it's improved.
Okay, how do you stave off this intense competition? Because you've got big casinos, Mohegan Sun, Foxwoods nearby in Connecticut. You've got some big new players in the Catskills in New York and up near Syracuse, Turning Stone. You're going to be competing against Wynn Resorts with Encore Boston Harbor next year, if that all goes as planned. How do you stave off the competition and make this the destination?
Well, we're used to competitive markets, and we have a track record. It's kind of almost unfair for people to compete against us because we're the biggest entertainment company. We're the market leader everywhere we go. We're the market leader in Atlantic City, obviously very competitive. Market leader in Detroit, very competitive.
But are you overextended on the East Coast? You just bought the Yonkers Speedway and another New York property. Analysts have said to me they're concerned that MGM is overextending itself on the East Coast.
Yeah, we just don't feel that way. The ability to cross-market between these properties is very high. The data that we have in this market from our MLife database shows that these customers are not going to our other properties today. We believe that with our regional jet service that we have able to move people all around the Northeast. And in fact, the Yonkers casino that you're referring to, once sports betting is approved in both New York and here in Massachusetts, will be a great linkage between these two properties.
Joe, you want to jump in?
I do. Jim, I know that you watch closely I probably watch CNBC, but you saw Brian Cornell from Target talking about the consumer and how great the environment is. And, you know, we talk all about the unemployment and GDP, stock market, and everything else. So the economy is pretty strong. Does that translate to MGM and how your business does? Do people, they come to the resorts more, they gamble more? And then I have a follow-up question, too. I mean, are things good for you?
Sure. First, discretionary income improving is always good for us. We've weathered some really rugged times since I've been at the company, but even during the bailout of the autos, MGM Detroit did well. It made about 140, 150 million a year. So we do okay in tougher markets, but we definitely benefit if the consumer is healthier because this is a discretionary purchase. So yeah, we're pleased with the macros.
So it's a solid time, and you've always been a Republican, and it's a solid time. So in contrast to the past, you were really, I mean, I talked to you about it and needled you a little bit. You were an outspoken supporter of Hillary Clinton in the last election. So now that you've been able to see everything, and as a Republican, you probably like deregulation a little, I guess, and maybe the tax reform bill. Do you still wish the candidate that you backed had won in 2016, Jim?
I do, yes.
Okay. For what?
Quick answer.
Do you think the
Long question, quick answer.
Do you think the economy would be as healthy or doing as well, or there's other things that are more important? Are your shareholders benefiting? Or I'm just wondering. That seems like I guess the follow-up is why.
So obviously the economy was expanding going into 2016. I can't tell you what it would look like under a different administration, but what I was talking about to you then and I talk about now is what we care about, what I care about in terms of trade, in terms of immigration, in terms of diversity and inclusion. I just felt at that point in time the more qualified candidate was Secretary Clinton. But those were my personal views. I represent a company of 80,000 people. The majority of my employees are minorities. I felt strongly that the more qualified candidate at that time was Secretary Clinton. That said, look, we're doing well as a company. I like deregulation. The tax code benefited me and our company. And, I think that the economy certainly is on the right track. I'm proud of what we're doing to contribute to that as a middle-class job creator.
What about the economy in Las Vegas? Because you and Mark Frisora at Caesars and Matt Maddox at Wynn Resorts talked about the third quarter being tougher because of a lack of scheduled events.
Yeah.
You know, July and August are hot months that people question whether they should go to Las Vegas. What do you do to try and lift that third quarter annually?
Yeah, so, I've been out there 20 years, Contessa, and the last 2 years, I think, made me and many others very complacent because last summer we did well, and the year before we did well. This year is more like a normal one. So what we do is get into the fourth quarter. We have a lot more convention business. We have the Triple G Canelo fight next month. We have UFC fights, and I think you're going to see a much better fourth quarter.
I only have 30 seconds. I have to ask you, MGM has filed a lawsuit naming the victims of the October 1st shooting at Mandalay Bay as defendants. Why?
Yeah. So first, despicable act by an evil person. A lot of the victims' families are my employees. We've been on this since obviously 1 October. We don't want a nickel from anybody. What we're trying to do is consolidate cases. There are hundreds of cases and put them into federal court. That's what Congress intended when they passed the Safety Act after 9/11. And if we can accomplish that, put these cases into federal court, all these cases will be adjudicated. The victims, their families, everyone affected will get their money quicker. And that's all that we want to do. I know the headlines were awful. It made me sick to look at them. It was never our intent to hurt anybody. Our intent is for my own employees, including my CFO, who was at the concert that night, we want everyone to be able to get their day in court as soon as possible.
Jim Murren, thank you so much for being candid with us. Appreciate that, and congratulations on the opening of the new casino tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ben.